Kamala Harris has an opportunity to separate herself from the Biden ticket on this issue. On that new Quinnipiac poll, 49% say Trump would handle the Gaza war better than Harris. Do you want to know why they say that? Because Trump keeps saying, I'm a fucking peace candidate, okay? People keep hearing the point that he keeps reiterating over and over and over again, where he says, no new wars under my administration, which is obviously a fucking lie, but it doesn't matter. Obviously a fucking lie, but it doesn't matter. People literally remember that, and then they look at like Ukraine, and they attribute that to Biden. They look at Gaza, they attribute that to Biden. Okay? Are Americans low-key stupid? Americans are high-key stupid. They are high-key stupid, not low-key stupid. They're stupid as fuck. Why wouldn't they hear Trump say that he wants Israel to finish the job? Because if you have some level of charisma, people literally make up what the fucking policies are in terms of what their personal opinion is. And this especially works when you are not the fucking current president, so you are not currently responsible for the onslaught. A lot of Americans, especially in the Republican Party, don't actually associate the real negative consequences of the legislation that they're signing on for. A great example of this is obviously on the issue of abortion. There are plenty of Republicans that voted for the Republican Party. They didn't really care about abortion rights being restricted. And now they're like, oh my God, this is actually devastating. What the fuck? Because all of a sudden, there's no way you can message out of it. Everybody now knows you are responsible for all of the women in places like Texas, in places like Ohio, that can't get fucking ectopic pregnancies dealt with. And now they're in a panic state because Republicans shut that access off. They are responsible for it. They have to fucking live with that reality. You need to understand something. Americans do not make smart choices when they are voting. Part of that reason is because neither party truly represents their best interests, so politics just gets divvied out to team sports. A lot of people think, oh, I'm voting on harm reduction on the Democratic Party side, but ultimately they're just voting on team sports. Harm reduction is just a layer of moralizing that you are tacking on to why you're making the decision that you're making. So in a way, it's both the dumbest people that don't vote, and it's also somewhat the smartest people that don't end up voting, even if they recognize why they're not voting. Ultimately, I wish more people would get activated to go out and vote, but the reality of the matter is until either fucking side, and this is specifically the Democrats I'm talking about here, okay, until the Democrats actually actively communicate that if voting for the Democrats will actually genuinely improve their lives, improve their material conditions in a meaningful way, and that the Democrats are actually on board with genuinely improving their lives in a meaningful way. Easy to communicate, easy to understand, responsive policies, right? Until that happens, most people are not going to fucking go out and vote. Do you think voting because of harm reduction is bad? I don't think voting because of harm reduction is bad. I do think, however, that most people don't vote on that basis. And that is partially because harm reduction is the only fucking advocacy that they engage in within their own base. And that's really fucking stupid because you're just missing a massive, massive amount of people that you could be activating, bringing out to the fucking polls, you know? I mean, I don't think that's true with respect to labor or trans LGBT rights. Notice how you're not saying that about immigrants right now because the Democrats have dropped that from their policies, right? So like last election cycle, you would say that, you would say trans and LGBT rights, and then you would also say immigrants, right? Like Republicans are doing horribly poor things with immigrants, like Democrats will protect immigrants. Notice how you don't say that anymore because they shut that communication off because they themselves are now pushing for a right-wing immigration bill. So every election cycle, they just like pick and choose another thing that they are going to capitulate to the right on. And I personally find that to be unconscionable. I personally find that to be immoral. And I also personally find that to be disastrous. Notice how you're not also saying, well, what about Muslims, right? Because that was another good one that you could use if you only cared about harm reduction, right? Oh, Trump will be so much worse on Muslims. Trump will be so much worse on immigrants. Okay, but that doesn't mean that this gives you an opportunity to be fucking harmful yourself, right? There is obviously issues where the Democrats are genuinely better than the Republicans on. That's abortion and protecting the medical decisions that people make. And that's a huge issue. Problem is, it seems to me like obviously in a place like Missouri, people are still voting for abortion, but also simultaneously voting for Donald Trump. Chomsky made a good point about voting, and that's something you just do, and then you get back to the real work of organizing and growing a movement. Yeah, voting is still the least consequential, most significant thing you can do, for sure. And I understand the argument that Chomsky is making. Even though he is 850 years old, he was there when democracy was invented. He knows a thing or two about that sort of thing. However, having said that, a lot of people don't operate on that basis. This is what I'm simply stating. It's like harm reduction, harm reduction, harm reduction over and over again is not going to carry you across the finish line, okay? Harm reduction didn't carry the Democrats across the finish line because you can't out-compete. You can't out-harm reduction argument your way out of a bad candidate or a bad campaign. Hillary Clinton demonstrated that reality, right? I think that the Democratic Party should drop that as well. They dropped the identity politics stuff, and I really do hope that they'll drop this shit eventually as well, because it would be a significantly better way to argue, a significantly better mechanism to draw out more support, more popular support, get more people to vote for you in states where people have completely lost confidence in you, the Democratic Party, if you were to actually advocate for direct policies that help people's lives, okay? The direct policies that help people improve their material conditions. That's what politics is. What are you going to give me at the end of the day is a real question that people must ask. And the Democratic Party's response can't simply be, well, we're better than the Republicans. Harris is gaining on all the good polls, and then there are right-wing pollsters deciding to fuck the averages, Lamau. The thing is, Kamala Harris gaining on all of these good polls simply does not carry her across the finish line. It just simply shows that momentum is on her, is favoring her at this time. None of these polls actually show that Kamala Harris is definitely winning tomorrow. This shows momentum. That's a good thing. However, even if they showed a massive increase, right, post-convention, for example, it still wouldn't necessarily mean all that much in terms of like what things may look like come November. Okay. But having said that, it's not the end all be all. There are examples where people are doing well post-convention, get a big bump after convention, and then they end up losing. There are examples where you don't see a massive bump post the convention and you end up winning. Why do you think so many down ballot Democrats are polling so much better than Harris in the presidential race? Is that the down ballot Republicans are just worse? In some instances, that is the answer. There's a lot of untested or genuine failures on the Republican side. Like, you have a lot of people on the Republican side that are untested, that don't have any sort of like policy that they can point to, or don't have any tenure that they can point to. They don't really have like a built-in infrastructure for canvassing, and they're just fucking running, and Trump likes them because they're freaks, right? And that is actually part of the reason why in some of these races, the down ballot races are actually performing better than the top of the ticket. Having said that, however, the other reason is, in my opinion, the other reason is because the Kamala Harris campaign is not doing a decent enough job separating themselves from the Joe Biden campaign. They have done that with like pricing, right? They've done that with grocery prices, but they haven't done a clean break on a lot of other stuff, including but not limited to Gaza. Okay. There are still a lot of things that are unpopular with the Biden administration that the Harris ticket has not actually communicated their way out of. I personally suspect the immigration part of the equation is also a big deal. But of course, polling doesn't show that. Well, it's because it's an untested narrative, because the Republicans have never counter-messaged or even tried to drop it. Now, of course, that is an issue. They have not tried it, and it might be too fucking late when they finally come to their senses and decide, like, maybe we shouldn't be running in this like fucking super right-wing immigration policy shit. It's probably going to be far too late. Nate Silver has an interesting take. Who is favored to win the presidency? Chance each candidate has of winning the Electoral College or the popular vote in 2024 presidential election, and our best predictions on the outcome based on 40,000 simulations of our model. Harris's Electoral College victory probability is at 47.3%. Trump is at 52.4%. But the popular vote probability, Harris is at 63.8%. The predicted Electoral College, the predicted electoral votes that she arrives at is 272. The predicted popular vote share is at 50.3%. Chance of winning is based on Nate Silver's model. Predicted electoral votes is based on just polls. His model thinks Kamala should have had a much larger lead in PA than polls are showing. It's cooking her in his model. Yeah, I think this race is going to obviously come back. This race is going to come down to Pennsylvania. Obviously, Trump knows that. They're playing defense in places like North Carolina. They're pumping a little bit in places like Georgia. But ultimately, I think it's just, Pennsylvania is the major part of this problem. And she's showing another problem. It's been a while since we've seen a poll showing Harris leading in Pennsylvania. A high-quality poll showing Harris ahead in PA would make a big difference right now. There's a large population of Arabs and Muslims in PA. The Gaza genocide could lose it. 170,000 registered Muslim voters. Kamala Harris needs every fucking vote she can possibly pick up. And what I find very frustrating about this, beyond the fact that every time I say at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break, you guys fucking perk up. And it annoys me and it like fucks up my flow, even though there is a 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. When you get one free Prime subscription a month, you can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's a 3-minute ad break. Now, what's really endlessly frustrating about this, what's endlessly frustrating about the Kamala Harris campaign strategy so far is that there are votes waiting to be picked up. There are votes waiting to be picked up. There is momentum that they can add to the Vibes campaign. However, the areas that they are going after, where they're going after, the people that they're trying to win over to their side are unimaginably stupid. One example I will give you is this. Okay, I saw this earlier today. Looks like some marginal voters don't have to try very hard to get meetings, huh? Says Edinger Mentham. Here it is. Haley Voters Working Group. Thank you to the Harris campaign for joining our group for the 3rd time tonight. We've appreciated your engagement and the time you've shared with us, respectfully discussing how to win over Haley voters on the fence. I am losing my fucking mind. What are you doing? What are you doing? There are hundreds of thousands of people in every single state that you are currently either barely defeating Donald Trump on or losing to Donald Trump on, depending on which poll you're looking at. And they are straight up going after a group of like 50 voters of a candidate who has endorsed Donald Trump. Please stop doing this. What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? Who's running the fucking show? Monkeys that are just like hitting cymbals? Is that what's going on? Just a bunch of fucking animals up there just playing with fucking dials? Who's doing this? Who's doing this? What the fuck? I'm losing my fucking mind, dude. And it's additionally strange because, and I will keep repeating this over and over and over again, the original momentum that happened from Biden losing the election to Donald Trump to Kamala Harris having a chance of defeating Donald Trump, that only happened because they did progressive shit. Okay? They responded to public pressure, and lo and behold, people like that sort of thing. Okay? Making it seem as though you have a commitment to the democratic process turns out makes people feel pretty enthusiastic. Okay? What the fuck are we doing here? This is old school, dumbass, I want to lose bullshit. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, how do you end up doing something? How do you end up making decisions that actually are bangers, okay? And you immediately get this big boost. You get this response. So many people doubt your ability to finally like take this bold step forward and actually get like noticeable and immediate changes in the way that people view the campaign. And then you just go, okay, we're done. We did enough. Like, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. This does not mean that the Kamala Harris campaign is going to fucking lose, okay? I'm not saying that at all. They are doing very well so far, okay? They're doing very well so far. But that can fucking change, okay? While they have the foot on the gas, They should be pumping it even harder instead of trying to desperately cut away at this momentum. Walz is outstanding, best VP pick of my life. I know. That's why I don't get it. I don't get it. Why the fuck did you do that? If they had went with Josh Shapiro, okay, I'd be like, this is classic Democratic Party shit, you know? Classic. They went with what they perceive as the safe choice, even though it's not a safe choice. But what they perceive was like the calculated safe choice, okay? Somewhat conservative governor in a key state that they have to win. It's a must-win state. And they didn't do that. They didn't fucking do that. They went with Walz, which locked them into at least messaging around progressive policies. So I don't understand why the fuck they're like not continuing along with that, like with that agenda. They didn't pick the guy for VP who was massively popular in Pennsylvania. Yeah, dude, you're right. You're right, dude. Massively popular in Pennsylvania. Like, he's popular, dude. I wouldn't go as far as to say he's massively popular. He ran against a freak. That strategy worked so well for the Dems last election cycle that Trump gained 20 million votes. Yeah, I'm like, I'll literally be talking about fucking healthcare. I'll be talking about like genuinely actively communicating policy prescriptions to people's like people's problems that they perceive in their day-to-day lives, and like running a campaign on issues like that. Okay, not like a boring, annoying, nerdy Elizabeth Warren style campaign, but like a closer to a Bernie, like a populist campaign where you're like, people are suffering, we're gonna solve it. Okay, we're gonna put more fucking bread on your table. We're gonna make sure that it's easier for you to have a roof over your fucking head. We're gonna solve these issues. Okay, if they did that, people would respond to it. People would respond positively to it. And it's crazy to me that like there's Democrats in here who turn around and go, oh, well, actually, you think everybody cares about Gaza. First of all, why are you openly admitting that like Americans are selfish, bloodthirsty fuck losers when there's a goddamn genocide happening and they don't give a fuck? Secondly, you're objectively incorrect. Obviously, it's not the most salient issue for a lot of Americans, but plenty of Americans, like broad majorities of Americans, want to fucking stop the fighting in Gaza, okay? So shut the fuck up. You're objectively wrong on every aspect of this conversation. Like, I don't understand it. I don't understand why you can be so wrong and so confident in how fucking wrong you are. Ain't nobody's here saying like, oh, the number one thing that Americans care about is like the ongoing genocide in Gaza. I never said that. I don't believe that. Okay? Because that is objectively not true. But according to the CBS poll, 61% of Americans oppose weapons aid to Israel's assault in Gaza. 77% of Democrats and 63% of self-identifying moderates reject U.S. weapons aid to Israel. 77% of the under 30 demographic oppose weapons aid to Israel. 75% of Black Americans, 66% of women, 56% of white college graduates. This is not like, this is just an easy gimme, okay? It's just waiting right there. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of voters across multiple fucking states, especially when you are in margins of barely fucking getting a victory in a lot of these key states that you have to get. When you say every vote counts and then you fucking turn around and go, but not those votes, well, then every vote doesn't count. That's an easy dub. It's sitting right there. Like, it's just right there, dude. It is right there, okay? It is right there. Easiest dub of my life, okay? Easiest W of anyone's lives is just standing right there. It's like marijuana decriminalization or legalization at the federal level. It's a thing that the Democrats could just do tomorrow and people would be on board with it, okay? It's one of those things. It's like, it's just there. And they never hit that button, ever. I don't know why they're so scared of hitting that button. I don't know what the fuck the problem is. I genuinely don't understand it. It's like a free vote situation, okay? This doesn't mean that it's like the number one issue. Like, out of all of these people that are polled, they're not saying they're not going to vote for Kamala Harris if she doesn't get this done, okay? Nobody is saying that. But having said that, there are Kamala Harris, the closer she is associated to Biden on this issue, on Gaza, the worse she is going to poll on this issue, the worse she's going to hemorrhage votes. There is, I've said this since early October, okay? There's an electoral analysis here that favors removing the unshakable bond we have with Israel. There is a State Department continuation of your like American hegemonic superpower status argument to make. There's a pro-CIA, pro-State Department argument to make in terms of like reanalyzing our relationship with Israel. Okay. There is a pro-Israel's continuation of the apartheid argument that I could make if need be. Like I could make a liberal Zionist argument. It literally does not make sense. That is why I'm saying it is pure zealotry and fear. That is the only reason. It is pure ideological zealotry and fucking fear. Fear of the unknown that is stopping. It's not like some secret thing that they're aware of that you don't know about, okay? It's not like the Mossad blackmail operation. All of a sudden, we're going to see Joe Biden's like dick pics leak because he like made the right decision or whatever. Like, no, it's not any of those things. Sometimes the truth is that simple. Ideological zealotry and fear. That's it.